It's 2 a.m. Are you having trouble finding difference within similarity?
Too often, novice writers will be too general when comparing and contrasting two things.
Do you often find yourself writing statements like, these two sources have something in common?
Use difference within similarity.
Do you often find yourself struggling to come up with an answer to the so what question?
Use difference within similarity.
One way to help avoid this problem is by using a technique called Finding Difference Within Similarity.
When A and B are obviously similar, look for unexpected difference. When A and B are obviously different, look for unexpected similarity.
Step 1. Decide whether the two things you are comparing have more obvious similarities or differences.
Step 2. Explain why the obvious similarity or difference is significant. Ask so what and why is this similarity or difference important?
Step 3. Now focus on finding a less obvious difference within the similarity, or a less obvious similarity within the differences between the two sources. If you're analyzing two things that are obviously similar, looking for less obvious distinctions between the two sources helps locate and analyze the anomalies, making for a more interesting paper.
Similarly, if you are analyzing two things that are obviously different, finding a surprising similarity raises new and interesting questions for you to pursue. Now let's look at an example and apply what we have learned to find difference within similarity.
Let's take two popular movies, High School Musical and Mean Girls.
The most obvious way to compare these sources is to look at the similarities between the two. Both movies are centered around high school and depict stereotypical high school cliques.
Also, both movies feature a strong female lead who happens to be the new kid in school.
If we stop here, our comparison is very broad and uninteresting. This will make for a thesis that lacks tension and will most likely lead to a paper that fails to answer the so what question. This is where finding difference within similarity comes in.
We've already completed step 1. We see that these sources have obvious similarities. Now let's move on to step 2. Why is this similarity significant?
The fact that both movies are focused around a female character in high school leads us to believe that the movies would share a similar message.
Now that we have analyzed the obvious similarity, we have to look for complicating evidence.
Step 3. Look for less obvious differences despite the similarities.
Even though both movies are centered around high school, their tones are actually vastly different.
In Mean Girls, high school is depicted as extremely cliquey, and the students are encouraged to fit into a certain group. For example, Katie is pressured to sit with the plastics rather than the art geek.
In High School Musical, however, the students break out of their cliques and change the status quo. For example, even though Gabriella has a passion for chemistry that could easily classify her as a nerd, she embraces her love for singing by trying out for the musical.
Now we ask, so what?
Even though both movies are centered around a teenager's life in high school, they have very different messages. As High School Musical advocates for acceptance and Mean Girls sends the message that high school is all about stereotypes.
As you can see here, using difference within similarity adds depth to your analysis of two sources by using complicating evidence to add tension to your thesis and make your paper more interesting.
For more information on difference within similarity and other writing techniques, refer to Writing Analytically.